Hello. Here we are. All right, so happen to have a decent amount of time on my hands today. Maybe some of you are in the same situation. So I thought, what better way to spend my time than to learn some stuff from Noam Pikelny, answer some banjo questions. I'll even, let's see. Yeah. Sonny, you were first. Well done. Welcome. Oh, sorry, David. Sonny beat you. Oh boy, we got the banjo. This is a cool banjo. I'll talk a little bit about it while we wait for some more people to show up if they're going to. Want to get everyone a chance to see what we're doing here. And let me know if the audio is too quiet or too loud or too anything. We can change everything. We can try. Hopefully it sounds okay already. If it doesn't, sometimes it doesn't sound great in the beginning and then I fix it. So just let me know. There we go. Banjo, voice too quiet, banjo sound fine. Yeah, it's tough to balance those two things, but I think I can do it. What do we think about that? Is that better? Is that a little bit better? Hopefully. Problem is, it's hard to get the banjo at the appropriate volume, and get the banjo at the appropriate volume, and get the voice. Getting those two separate things. Maybe if I angle this up a little bit. Let me know if that's better. Hopefully that should be better. Play Jerusalem Ridge. Maybe. Maybe. Salt Spring. Yeah, we're not really doing a request thing here, unfortunately. We have much more interesting things to do than to listen to me play tunes that I don't really know that well. We have far more interesting things to do, and I'll show you what those interesting things are, actually. Let's get here. What we are doing today... Oh yeah, tell us about the banjo. Yeah, I'll tell you about the banjo first. And then we'll get to the much more interesting things. This is not my banjo. This actually belongs to Gabe Hirschfeld. Dance Monkey, yeah, exactly. This banjo belongs to Gabe Hirschfeld currently. But it originally belonged to, as you can see on this, Mike Kropp, who is an incredible New England banjo player who unfortunately passed away a couple years ago, and had a lot of really amazing banjos that Gabe has kind of either acquired and or been doing some sourcing to get people to buy these banjos. People who appreciated Mike's playing or knew Mike or would give these banjos a nice home. So I'm currently borrowing this banjo from him. And I love it. It's great. It's a Huber banjo. Huber, True Tone. I don't really know a lot about Hubers and what the models are and everything, but I know it's one of the Huber True Tone banjos, and it's got the HR30 ring in it. Everything else about it is pretty much Huber. Remo head, not a Huber head, but it's got the Huber bridge and everything. So kind of just how it probably would have come out for the most part. Actually, no, the tailpiece is different too. There's a lot of things that are different about it, I guess. But it's a really cool banjo. It's a slightly radiused fretboard. I don't know if you can tell that. You probably can't really tell that from looking at it, but it's great, and it's I'm kind of using it right now as a banjo to play some non-Scruggs things. Let me just real quick up the professional value of this live stream. There. Now you can't tell where the mysterious blue light is coming from. You have no idea now. How am I miking it? I'm actually just using this, what I use for my live streams, this shotgun microphone. And I'm not really miking it at all. I'm miking myself, and the banjo's just so loud that that's covering everything. So, and again, yeah, let me know if it's too quiet or too loud or whatever. I can adjust at any time. Anyway, so this is a great banjo for some more what they call progressive banjo stuff, like single string and melodic, and it's just a lot more comfortable for that sort of thing, you know? Which I kind of want to get more into these days. I have spent kind of time off and on really into that kind of playing, and really been a big fan of, obviously, Noam Pikelny and a lot of other people. And so at different times in the last like 10 years or so, I've spent, a couple months here or a year here and there focusing specifically on that kind of stuff. So I feel like I have a decent grasp of the fretboard and music theory and all these techniques, but I don't really play them all that much. So other than to teach them, I have a hard time sometimes using these techniques. Like if I really want to play a fiddle tune and improvise comfortably, that can be difficult sometimes because I don't really play fiddle tunes that often. I don't improvise on fiddle tunes that often. So it's really more like I'll be on a gig and someone will want to play something. I'll say, oh, I know some cool stuff. I'll try and do it. And it is fine, but it doesn't ever really seem to come across as if I've spent a lot of time on it, because I haven't. Or it doesn't sound like I've spent any time recently on it. Sounds like I kind of know what I'm doing, but I need to like reapproach the concept, which is exactly the situation. I kind of know what's going on, but it's never in the front of my mind. So as I've got some free time at the moment, it's going to be the thing that I spend a lot of time on, I think. Not to say that my lessons will be less about bluegrass. I think I'll do a healthy amount of each, and probably more lessons, given that I've got so much free time on my hands. But definitely want to spend more time on that sort of thing. So, with that said, here's what we're checking out. We're going to be learning, or I am going to be learning, and you can check it out, and we can whatever. You can see the process of learning this awesome version of Beating Around the Bush, the Bill Keith tune from Noam Pikelny. Let me just make myself a little bit smaller here. I don't think I need to take up quite so much room in this frame. Oh boy. Do the exact opposite now. Oh no. There it is. All right. That says I probably shouldn't be here. I'm working from home, and you're really... See, that's kind of what I figured was going to happen. I figured there's a lot of people at home right now, either working or not working, who either want to play the banjo or want to just think about the banjo or think about something else. So let's think about the banjo, you know? Think about things that are fun. Ooh, and we have a new subscriber. See, here's what's cool. We're getting good at this now. If you subscribe, you get a special notification all for yourself, just to say how cool you are for subscribing. All right, so I don't know if you've seen this whole song before. You should check it out. I will play maybe like through the first time. I'll play the first time through, just so you know what we're checking out here. And then we'll get into actually learning it. So that's basically the first time through the melody, I think. I don't really know this tune at all. We'll see, but that's as much as I can tell. Basically, the whole melody of the tune. Never mind. Very, very cool. Okay, so obviously this is amazing. There's a couple reasons it's amazing. There's a lot of really cool stuff going on. But also, I think one of my favorite things about what's going on here, basically everything he plays. I mean, I know when we watch players all the time, it's like everything they do is amazing. Every time we watch the players like Noam Pikelny or Banjo, like, it's just like, wow, what are they doing? How are they doing that? It's amazing. But if you really listen to what all these people are doing. A lot of the times you'll find stuff that is amazing, and this is their best music, but it can be a little hard to learn what they're playing because it's not always super clear. Maybe they're improvising, and there's some section of it that doesn't quite make sense, or maybe they fumble through something. You know, all these people make mistakes too. It means that, like, if you want to learn an entire song from someone, sometimes, especially with these musicians that improvise, you have to learn these things that maybe aren't exactly what they meant to play, and therefore it's a little confusing. It's like, should I really be learning this thing that they didn't really mean to do quite that way, blah, blah, blah. In this version, this thing that Noam plays here, every single note is exactly where it needs to be, and he's probably improvising, but that's Noam. That's the deal when you are that level of an improviser. You know what I mean? So we got our mod here. Welcome. Let's just before we get started with this though. Wish I could play banjo. I'm 65. Yeah, definitely not too late to start. That is for sure. The more I tried, the worse my playing was. That's how you know you're getting better, which is weird. But that is how you know you're getting better, if you practice more and feel like you sound worse, because what you're doing is you're actually learning. You're hearing yourself better. So it's not that you're getting worse. You're actually just realizing what you sounded like the whole time, which I know can sound like a bad thing, but it's a good thing. Because in order to get better, you have to know what things need to improve. And when you feel like things get worse, it's like, oh, well, now I know exactly what needs to improve because I can tell what sounds better or worse. It says can't memorize songs. Well, we're going to try to memorize this over the next however long, a couple days or weeks or whatever it takes to learn this. I'm going to learn every single note in this version, hopefully. So we'll talk about how to memorize things as we go, because it's going to be difficult for me to memorize it. So hopefully you find this useful, because this is really going to be as much my process of learning stuff, as possible. This is really how I learn things for this YouTube channel or for my own professional career, whatever. If I'm playing in a gig and I need to learn songs, this is really how I do it. Of course, I don't set up the camera before I do that and turn on the lights, but other than that, this is kind of how it works. So, first step, obviously, first thing we need to do, slow down our recording so I can keep up with how fast it is. And we just start with a couple notes. We just start with the first couple notes that we hear. Let's just do that. What's nice is, it's good to learn things by ear, and you should. But watching it is fine too. And if we're just trying to learn how to play something, which is all we're trying to do, then that's great. So let's just start, for instance, with that much. And let's see. Hopefully that's visible enough to you. All right. So this is just what we've written down so far, and what this little phrase is it's just a repeated phrase that he plays a couple times. So what better place to start than the beginning, right? So I could really envision easily, like the first thing that I want to work on before I even learn the rest of it is like, if it repeats that, then let's just practice that a couple times. And just slowly get a little faster and faster. That's not anything I've played before, so it's definitely going to take me a while to get that up to speed. But let's forge ahead. Let's see what else we can get from this. Something like that, right? So we have the intro now. So it's just 4 bars as the intro. All right. So from the beginning, let's just play what we got so far. That's what that is. Now, that is not going to be easy to get to sound as good as Noam has it sounding, because if you think about what I'm really doing here, you know, this is not so bad. Going, I'm well, how are you? Nice to hear from you. Happy birthday. What software? I'm using Guitar Pro. Guitar Pro 7.5. That is the best tab software I know of for sure. That's not so bad. That's just melodic stuff that we see somewhat regularly. Maybe not all the time, but it feels like it anyway. On the right hand, that's what it feels like. Right here, right there, that's very unusual. So that in itself is something that we want to practice. We want to take each little pieces of it that is worth looking at. We want to look at it individually, right? Ooh. Sounds ridiculous, but that's what it is. Yeah. And yeah. There's our intro. That's all it is. All right, now we're actually getting into the tune here a little bit. So. So that sounds about right for that that next section. Ooh. All right, there's gonna be a lot going on in this. This is cool. That's a lot. That's pretty wacky, right? Let's get a full screen view of that, because this is going to be a lot to learn this. Woo! So, clearly, we have our work cut out for us, but that's great. Is this always alternating? No, so this is definitely not always alternating thumb and first finger. This is going to have a lot of different stuff going on. If there's single string stuff involved, which so far we have no single string stuff, right? Then it's still going to be a combination of all three. When you're talking about Noam Pikelny, all fingers are fair game at any time. Ryan Kavanaugh, yeah. And even middle finger on the fourth string. Yes, that is true. So all fingers are game for sure. But so far we don't even have any single string stuff. So it's definitely up in the air. Let's see. What chords are played against this? I'm actually not sure yet. We'll figure that out. There's a lot of chords in this song, but it's in G. I can tell you that so far. Okay. Let us continue. Let's get a little chunk of this, and then we'll practice that amount of it. Oops, what did I miss? Aha, even more. Actually, this is even simpler. This is very cool. So one of the things that's going to really help us with stuff like this, where like so far it's, especially if you just played like bluegrass, like Scruggs style stuff, then one of the if you just played like Scruggs style stuff, then it can be a really good idea to see if you can connect this to the things that you're already capable of doing. Like, I'm not going to necessarily put all the fingerings in right now, but if I just started to put in some fingerings for the right hand anyway. Oops, we got it backwards now. Just that much of it anyway. Let's look at that. So if I am thinking about these fingerings, even though I'm not playing rolls, I'm not playing Scruggs style, I'm still thinking about these first three notes, right? M-I-T, middle, index, thumb. That's a backward roll. And then we got this little snippet, right? Whatever. When we get here, we got a forward roll. Thumb, index, middle. And then actually this whole thing right here, forward, backward. Right? So that can make things easier for sure. If you don't think about it like that, think about how many notes there are that we have to keep track of. If you don't think about it exactly, not exactly, well, you got to have your own way of thinking about it, but if you don't think about it in some way that condenses this information, then you're going to see this as a bunch of random notes, just a bunch of singular notes to memorize. If you want to memorize something like this, you actually have to think about it as these different little chunks. If I have to memorize each single note in order, that's way too many pieces of information to think about, especially if I'm going to play it fast. When I play something like Cripple Creek, I'm kind of thinking of these little chunks of what it is that I'm playing. First there's this, and then there's this thing, and then there's this thing, and then there's this thing. So that can be extremely helpful to break it into little chunks like that. You know what I mean? Do you always transcribe to tablature as you learn things? Seems like a good habit. I don't. It can be a good habit. It depends what your goal is. For me, if I write something out in tablature, it actually takes me longer to learn it, because if I write it down in tablature, then I have it, right? That's great. That's very useful. But then I actually have to relearn it from the tablature a lot of the times, which is hard to do because I'm not using my ears. The more you use your ears, obviously, the more it's actually in your actual memory. When you read something, it's not necessarily, the sound of it anyway is not getting into your memory. The visual aspect of it might be getting your memory, but I don't visualize tablature I don't think anybody visualizes tablature when they play. I think they just have what's in their memory. So, learning, writing tablature, for me is mostly just an educational thing, just so I can share information. But here's where it would be a good habit personally to get into. If you're trying to, if you're trying to, for instance, let's say I wanted to develop some scale shapes, right? You can just memorize those. You can just say okay, well, these are all the notes in this area, and I'll just memorize that shape and move on to the next one. Sometimes it's just too much information to keep straight, and you need a place to store that information. That's great for tab. If I'm going to learn a tune, I'm mostly just going to learn it without the tablature first, just because then it's easier to memorize, and then maybe I'll put it in tablature just to maintain that. But it to me, the tablature for your own personal use is like adding an extra step that is maybe not super useful. I don't know why I just have to maybe I just need to remind myself that I can play Scruggs sometimes, because now we're venturing into uncharted territory. Okay. Ricky Meyer in the house. Thanks, Brett. Yeah, this is Guitar Pro 7. That's the tab stuff that we're using. Oops. Boom. How do I set up my banjo? I don't really. Well, I set the, I do, there's a little bit, I'll set the head to usually a G sharp-ish, and then adjust if necessary. With this banjo, it's a little lower because this is that Huber that I borrowed from Gabe that I'm trying to make it my progressive bluegrass, progressive banjo. So that's my knowledge, is you just have a looser head, and there you go. It sounds like that. Not that this doesn't sound like great for bluegrass. It actually, I'm really enjoying this banjo. And then the tailpiece, you know, not too low, not too high. Yeah. Gabe, the real answer to that question is Gabe Hirschfeld usually sets up my banjos. Do I hum the notes first? I don't. But that can be very helpful. That could be very useful for people. If that's useful, then you should totally do that. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, David, when there's that little line at the end of the note there, it just means it's a eighth note. It's not tied to anything yet. But now we shall tie it to something. Is that what that was? Oh, duh. It's the right melody, but the wrong. All right, let's just look at what we have so far here for a moment. Right? Yeah, see, you're now just trying to play more than I can play. Don't do that. Don't don't try to play more than you can play, because you're just wasting your time. Now I'm wasting your time. That's a good way to keep myself honest, is if I waste my time, I mean I'm wasting your time for sure. Of course, there's a risk that I'm wasting your time anyway, but Ryan says, random silly question. It seems like everyone has a little lick they play after tuning to make sure everything sounds right. Do you find yourself playing something specific after tuning usually? Yeah, nothing specific, and not for any good reason at all. It is not something I do for any specific, purpose. It's really just, just to make sure everything sounds good. And I do it even when I'm not tuning, just to make sure it's still a banjo. That 5-1 stretch is so Noam. Yeah, it is, and it's about to become so painful, I think. Although it's a really good thing to work on, to stay loose, because we don't need to play that like you don't have to grab onto it so tough. You know, you can just. So hopefully, this will teach me that. let us continue. That's not so bad. That's the easiest thing we got so far. But obviously, immediately after, all right. What does that slide down to? What do we want to call that? Let's just say it slides down to 9. I don't care. We know what that means. Thank you, Mickey. Thanks for checking out. Could you do a live video someday for transition licks and maybe some nice licks up the neck? Yeah. By the way, I'm likely to do a lot of live streams. Let's just get full screen here. I'm likely to be doing a lot of live streams in the coming future, given that I've got some free time on my hands, and I assume that you do too. So here's the pitch. I'll do it once every 45 minutes or something. I have no plans to stop live streaming anytime soon. But if you want notifications about future live streams, then you should be subscribed to this YouTube channel, because then you'll get a notification. If you press subscribe and then you press the little bell, then you get a notification when I'm live streaming. Or, even better, if you are a member on Patreon, boom, patreon.com/EliGilbertRanger. If you're a member, I send out an email to all patrons at least a couple hours, if not more, before I live stream, telling you exactly what time it's going to start. So you'll be able to show up exactly when it starts and not miss anything. And Patreon's also where I put all the tablature. You'll be able to get the tablature for this tune. You'll be able to watch this live stream after it's over. All kinds of cool stuff if you go to Patreon. There's the pitch. Anyway, back to it. Back to work. I don't even know if I'd done harmonics on this. Boom, I guess that's harmonic. Great. Okay, so what we have now is, I guess, the first time through the A section. Or first time through the first half of the A section? I don't know. I still don't know. Hey, Frank's a subscriber now. Nice. Not only do you get some sort of notification when you subscribe, but you also you get to get a notification on this video. You will be forever eternalized as a subscriber through my nifty notification thing. Okay, anyway, the point is we have the first half of the A section, maybe the first time through the A section. I don't know what it is. Okay. Oh, yes. I always mess up the I can fix this. Just give me a moment here. So there's always an issue with the Patreon link on YouTube, but I think I can make this okay. Let's find out. Hey, new subscribers coming right up. Very cool. Let's see what else we got. Let's see. I can fix this Patreon. This Patreon nonsense. Uh-huh. All right. So, here comes the sneakiest pitch of all. I just fixed the link to Patreon in the description of this video. So, just to make sure that it works, go ahead and click on it and see if it works, just to let me know. And while you're there, maybe subscribe. Okay, enough of that. Let us continue. Let's play a little bit of this A section thing. Thanks for hanging out, Ryan. Good to see you. Good to have you here. Woo! Let's try it again. We got it now. It's happening. Let's just play it a little bit. Let's play it a couple more times, slowly, at the appropriate speed. Get rid of this Patreon junk. All right, let's play it at the appropriate speed. Guess what the appropriate speed is, if I'm learning this? As slow as I have to play it to not make any mistakes. Which I think, let's guess how fast it is. Probably, to make no mistakes, maybe it's like this. Not no mistakes, but we know exactly where to go. So that was mostly fine. There was that moment right here. You know, right here, this. So how do you practice something like that? How do you practice jumping? Because by the way, this happens all at the same speed. It's not like I have a long pause before I get from here to here. Well, there's a couple things that happen. If we watch the way Noam does it, so here's two ways I can do this. I can play the part that's down here, and then I can move up here, which gives me almost no time to get there. Or you can do what Noam does. And by the time he hits the open G string, let me just get a little bit bigger here. Boom. Move everything around. Okay. By the time he gets to the open G string there, because it's... By the time he gets to there, he's here. So I have to be here for these notes, right? I can't move before I hit this last fretted note, but the fourth note I hit in this little passage is open. So by the time I hit that note, I'm ready to move, right? Yeah. Real quick though, Mickey says, before my boss gets me, what would you recommend? Strings would you recommend? I currently use medium gauge D'Addario. They're probably all great. I like all the strings, except that my favorite ones are these ones. This is the J.D. Crowe signature set, PF 140, which is the studio set, PF 140. That's the ones. That's all I use. So there you go. Okay, let's play through it a couple more times and then move on. Now I'm wasting my time again. What am I doing? Okay, what's the reason you like light gauge strings, light gauge over medium gauge strings? Just personal. Yeah, it is a personal preference, and here's the thing. When it comes to medium gauge strings, I think people think that the heavier the strings are, the more tone, the more volume, all that stuff, which is not necessarily true. Which is confusing because people also consider heavier banjos to have more sustain or more tone, and that can be true, especially with like a really heavy tone ring or something like that. It's one of the reasons that banjos with tone rings and without tone rings sound very different, not better or worse, just different. So people think that that applies to strings as well, and it's kind of not usually the case. Honestly, I feel like light strings are much more common than you would think. Um, so as an example, though, Sonny Osborne does not use. He used more medium strings, heavier strings. Terry Bauckham uses relatively heavy strings. Um, but Jim Mills, someone who plays harder than anyone I've ever seen, someone who plays the banjo so, I mean, not too hard. It sounds great. I like it, but plays light strings. And he's probably one of the louder banjo players that there is, and also one of my favorites. But if you ask a bunch of the absolute top banjo players in the world, most of them are using light strings for the most part. And I don't understand the physics of why that sounds better, but it just does. Unless it doesn't on your banjo and the way you play. So it's worth a shot. Try the light ones and see how it works. It's also just easier to play, which it can be really nice. Yeah. Okay, that's obviously an area of concern. So let's get into it. Yeah. If you don't know by now, if you find an area of concern, then you should focus on it. That's all I got to say about that. Okay, let's continue. We're still gonna move along a little faster than I would actually practice this, just because I'm trying to get this tune learned up. Okay, so here's what is very cool. Pretty much all of this is exactly the same. The second time, boom, just like that. Except things do change. Wow, all that part of the tune, just like that. Cool. Okay. World Bluegrass Day. Got to run another live. Thank you so much. Thanks for sticking around World Bluegrass Day and being so cool. Bascom Lodge says Bascom Lodge. I don't know. Says you play at a top professional level, but live in an area with few bluegrass pros or jams to play with. How do you practice to stay sharp enough to leave Maine and play immediately level? Well, it could be argued that I don't. It could be argued that when I leave Maine to go play professionally, that I don't play at that level. No, but I know what you mean. It can be really tough to keep up with what I consider to be like the level that I want to be at to play professionally, whatever that means. And there really are times that I go and play somewhere, play a gig with somebody, and I'm like, wow, I'm really not keeping it as good as it needs to be. But I will say this. There's not a ton of bluegrass in Maine compared to other places, but the people that I play with are some really great musicians. So I am really lucky around here to have some. There are absolutely some pro musicians, just ones you probably haven't heard of or that don't get out and play a lot, which is great because it means I get to play bluegrass in Maine. But definitely not as many as other places. So I do recognize what you're saying. When I do get out and play other places, sometimes there's a little bit of a adjustment phase where I need to kind of reacclimate to certain types of bluegrass or certain levels of players. So the thing that I can do to best get used to that is I spend a lot of time playing along with recordings that I really like, and trying to simulate what it feels like to really be at those gigs. So, when you practice, sometimes you practice just to get good at doing something, like good at playing a certain song, right? So let's say I want to get really good at playing "You Love Is Like a Flower." Well, I'm going to learn the J.D. Crowe version probably, and then I'm going to play. I'm going to play slowly until I can play it correctly, right? Great, and I'm going to build it up until I can play it fast enough. But that's going to get you really good at playing the kickoff to a song. What I want to be good at in this case, what we're talking about now, is I want to be good at going up on stage, kicking off a song, playing through the entire song, and then ending it. And that is not something people practice all that often. So I will sometimes, especially if I'm about to go on the road and play with somebody or whatever it is, I will absolutely set up a little microphone that's not even plugged into anything, and I'll just play as if I'm on stage. Sometimes I'll play along with the recording or not, and the song starts, and when it starts, I just have to play through the entire song no matter what. Which means if I make a mistake, I just have to recover as if I'm on stage, right? I don't get to stop and fix it. Most of the time when I'm practicing, I want to stop and fix it because that's how you get better. But what I want to get better at when I'm doing that is playing through it. So let's say I want to be good at playing "Your Love Is Like a Flower" on stage with a really great band, then I have to practice doing that. So maybe I'll put on Bluegrass Album Band and I'll play along with it. And what happens is, let's say, because if I play that kickoff, I'm probably not going to mess that up unless I'm on stage and there's a lot of people watching and I'm trying to impress somebody, and you know how it is. So let's say I kick it off and something goes wrong partway through. happens sometimes. You just like fumble around. It's like, oh no, what do I? So you got to keep in your mind where you are in the song, where everybody else is, and just come in as strong as you can with the right thing. Because that's most of the issue that you have when you're playing with somebody, and you're trying to be like, am I at this level? Am I at the correct level right now? You know, I can play whatever it is I can play most of the time, but it's like, can I play professionally? And playing professionally just means like when you make a mistake, you don't dwell on it. You just move forward. So I'm not trying to make mistakes just to like practice that. But if a mistake comes up, I have to I got to come back and sound good. And what that means is like that little mistake. I don't know what I did. I just tried to stop playing and not correctly do it. Let's do another example. Here's what you don't want to do. Let's say at some point during that kickoff you make a mistake. Here's what you don't want to do to recover. That's at a certain point, like you do what you can do, but if you're just like hunting, pecking around, like that's the problem, right? That's what you don't want to do. So you want to get really good at it is having in your mind where you are in the song and just come back in strong, even if I make a huge mistake. Which is not easy to do. It's really hard to do. Because you have to act like you just didn't make a mistake. You have to act like everything's okay, and it's kind of not okay because you made a big mistake, right? I get my thumb pick caught on the top string sometimes when I play fast. Yeah, man, that happens. And so what if you're playing along, and then your thumb pick is stuck, and you're like, ugh. And then when you finally get it out, guess what it sounds like? Big problem. So you have to just kind of forge ahead. I know this isn't exactly what you're asking about, but this is the stuff that I think about that helps me. You have to act like everything's fine, and it's not, which is not usually how you want to act in your life. Sometimes, like if you, or it's not how people think about how they want to act in their life. Like let's say you make a mistake and it bums some people out. You want to apologize and you want to say, "Oh, I'm sorry. That's not what I meant to do. I'm sorry. I hurt your feelings. Or I'm sorry I did whatever." You want to do that, but that's not really the situation we're talking about. What we're talking about is like the larger picture of like, am I able to get to the end of the song, and just like seeing your mistakes as part of the path towards that, which is kind of how it is in your life. If you've done things the wrong way for a long time, it's easy to dwell on those mistakes and say, I'm not gonna reach for the goal here because I've made so many mistakes. It's just embarrassing at this point. Well, that's fine if you want to guarantee that you'll never succeed. But if you're interested in succeeding, then you have to be willing to acknowledge those mistakes and be and use them, I guess. But we're here to talk about this, right? We're here to talk about anything. It's just I ramble on about things, obviously. So here's this section that's a little bit different. All right, can we play through the entire thing we have so far, maybe? Almost had it too. Not so bad. Not so bad so far. Alrighty. Now we're into the next section. Oops. Alright, now we're getting into some real tough stuff. But we'll be okay though. This is very cool stuff, I gotta say. Unsurprisingly. see what that little section feels like to play. That's not that bad. It's weird. It's getting better. Very cool. We're getting there. Joshua says, I'm at what most would consider an upper intermediate phase of banjo playing, and I'm having trouble making progress. I'm taking lessons, but it feels like progress is slow. Any advice for a multi-instrumental musician who is having a hard time making that next progress jump? The first thing I can say before knowing anything, there's not a lot I can say without knowing anything, is that progress being slow is a good thing. Because that's real progress. If progress is moving fast, you're either at the very beginning stages, which is fun and great, or you're learning a lot but not retaining a lot, is what it feels like when things are moving fast. So slow is good. That's fine. But I'm curious about getting a little more information. So in terms of getting better, a lot of people have like a kind of a vague idea of what they want to be better at, which makes it hard to know what to work on, because maybe you're not working on the things that you want to be better at in the most appropriate way. So now there's going to be a little back and forth of just me asking little questions and stuff. But so are there like maybe 2 or 3 things that you can name that you specifically want to be better at, like you want to have more ability with? I'm curious just what that is for you. So yeah, I'll work on this a little more, but feel free to answer that, and maybe we can find out if there's an underlying issue or something. Cool. All right, so here are, I'm just going to have more questions for a little bit, and then I might have recommendations. Okay, so want to join a group of strangers and be able to trust it to kick off, break, and end a tune as a vocalist. Meaning you have the breaks, like you have the kickoff, some kind of kickoff that you can play, some kind of other solo thing, and play the ending. So a couple questions. How many kickoffs would you say that you know? Like to the songs that you sing, how many of the songs that you know the words to do you have like an actual kickoff that you know how to play? And then how many endings would you say that you know? Like how many endings would you say that you have for the average tune that you sing? Or do you have a specific ending that you can play at the end of a tune. Cool. So you know 30 kickoffs, so that's great. That's everything you probably need to know. Because between all those things, I'm guessing that covers a lot of the things that happen in bluegrass. Okay, so then the issue, it seems like, is more. So then what doesn't go well when you try to do those things? And none of these are like accusatory questions. These are just like the questions I ask myself. This is not. None of these questions are to say that there is no problem. It's more just so I can understand exactly what the issue is. So like then to kick off, play the solo, and do the ending, what goes wrong? What goes wrong and what feels wrong when you go through those things? Yeah. Sliding from you get random looks and such. Yeah, that could be an issue, but it's tough to know what those mean. Well, some of the things that cause people to give looks, one of the most common thing that makes people say like look at you like, what are you doing? I don't know if this is what's happening, but sometimes I want to kick something off. You know, maybe they kick it off and it's fine, but maybe they kick it off and it's like, you know, like it's just like back and the timing is not with the band. You know what I mean? That's the most common thing that happens. I don't know if this is your issue. Here's what you should probably do just in case, if that might be your issue. Not that you're that extreme. If this is true, I don't think anybody plays just like that. But I would, well, first of all, record yourself playing with a recording or a metronome or something, and listen back and see if it really is in time. See if it really is lining up with the click. Because we can practice with those things and feel like we're along with it, but it's that self-reflection later that's going to give us probably the truth. Yeah, that's probably the best way to target that, if that's even the issue. You can also record yourself in a jam. You can set up a little, like you can just, with your phone, just a little voice memo and listen to yourself at the jam and see if you remember, like, okay, when I played this song, when somebody gave me that look, like, what are you doing? What was happening? What did it sound like? Because the more specific we can be about that, the better. And as always, all the same stuff that I always talk about is true, that practicing things slowly, taking your time, being very thorough and meticulous, that's great. He says, "Oh, I hate that you're right. I need to record myself." I mean, yeah, that could be it. I haven't heard you, so I can't say, but for me, that's almost always it, that if I record myself, I'm like, oh, that really is what I need to work on. But do it a lot too. Do it. Try doing it every day for a week or something, because part of it also is it's going to be weird to record yourself. You might not play at your best when you record yourself all the time, but um, so that's worth doing. Do this if you're on Patreon. I think you're on Patreon, right? Then feel free. Maybe we should get this Discord thing set up where you can, do this. Send me an email to start with a recording of yourself if you want. I'll just tell you what I think in the most helpful, compassionate way that I can. But maybe we'll set that thing up on Discord so we can actually get some people some feedback. Maybe that's a good idea too. Tough to say. But yeah, let me know how that works, because I'm curious if that's the case for you. Then that's probably helpful. Probably a useful thing to do. All right, we haven't made any progress on this tune in a bit. Let's make sure we get through this next section. Right? I think that's what it is. I don't know what's going on. bit of repeat. Little bit of a repeat here. More of that. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. There we go. Okay. The flubs. Yeah, whose flubs? Mine or... I guess that's where the only flubs are. There's certainly none to be found here. Who knows why he's sliding from these specific places, but sure sounds good. I don't know how to notate that. That makes no sense. It's easy to play. Yeah, that's not possible to really notate like that. Oh well. I think that's the first time through the whole tune. Did we do it? We did it. We are 1/3 of the way through the whole version. Not even. Wow, how many times does he play it? This can take a while. Okay, that's fine. That's all right. Don't care. Gonna do it anyway. But this is no longer correct. wrong. Yeah, what was I thinking here? Boom. Okay. Well, didn't that just take forever? But that's okay. Okay. Should we just play through the whole thing just one time? See if I even can. Probably not. Tempo di Lerno. Alright, I got the whole thing visible to me. I'll full screen it and then we'll play the whole thing. Sorry. That wasn't right. There it is. Okay. Only took us an hour and 44 minutes to answer questions and learn all that. Okay. Baron Collins Hill. Hey, everybody. Check out Baron on, if you're interested in learning mandolin, check out Baron's channel, Mando Lessons, on YouTube. You probably already have. One of the best stringed instrument educators out there on the web and in the real world too. Once a Mainer, now out far away, but good to see you here now. All right, so for the foreseeable future, I'm probably just gonna be doing this every day. I don't see why not. I got plenty of time, certainly, and I'm sure you got time to watch. Maybe you got something better to do though. It's always possible. But here's the deal. I will now give you the final pitch, the least fun part of all of this. You should be subscribed to me on YouTube. You should be clicking the notification bell so that you can be notified when I do this. Because if I do this every day, it's going to be hard to just tell everybody, okay, exactly at this time I'm going. It might just happen whenever it happens. You'll get a notification if you're subscribed and you have the notifications on. Click the bell. The other thing is, if you want to watch this particular live stream after it's over, or you want to get the tab once it's finished, it's not finished. So far, we only have this. Maybe I'll post updated versions of it as we go along. But so I'll post the tab for this on Patreon. That's where the tab for this goes. So that's something you might want to get into as well. You can also get all the tabs for all my other lessons. You can get bonus practice tips, all kinds of other stuff that you can't find here on YouTube nor anywhere else. So do that if you're interested. But if not, it's nice to just hang out. Still got 25 people. There's been at least 25 people this whole time. We had 50 at one time. That's crazy. But it's nice to have everyone here. So I think I'm going to call it for today, but we'll be back likely tomorrow to continue working on this. I'm going to practice this. Maybe I'll be able to actually play it all the way through by tomorrow, but we're gonna learn the next section. So every day it's just going to get even more difficult, more to memorize, harder and harder. But it's a good thing. That's great. That's what we want. What else are we going to do? I'm stuck here at home. What else am I going to do with my time? Then learn the banjo. Okay, so that's going to be it for today. Stay safe, everybody. Wash your hands. Yeah, all that.